Hello? Oh, sounds more like it. Oh, we got some up in the top row. Hello, everyone. Nice to see you. Can't hear you. Well, this feels a bit strange. It's been some while since we've been here, and a year or so of doing what people always call Zoom presentations, but they're a bit different to that. The big thing I had to remember today was to get out of my pyjama bottoms and put some trousers on, because you never see that when you're sitting in front of a TV screen. So as long as your top half's all right, you forget about the bottom bit. Anyway, it's really good to see you all here. Thank you so much for coming along. We've lost the habit of being able to count over the last year, but there's something like 83 people here today, so thank you for that. Thanks for coming along. It's a difficult decision, I know, at the moment, whether to go out, whether to stay in, and of course there is no right answer really. It's what we all feel comfortable with. So I'm glad you feel comfortable about coming out today, and it's nice to see you. And I hope you see some I was going to say friendly faces, but if they're not friendly, hopefully familiar faces that you can have a chat to and a smile with, and catch up on some news. I know we've got a bit to go through, which is good, but I want to say it while I think about it. Is when we finish today, I think it would be useful if people try and go out the side doors, because that'll probably be more orderly, a more orderly stampede than trying to go back on each other and out through the back door. So hopefully that's okay, and I'm sure the heavy mob, Diane and others, will make sure that we do that. So if that's okay with you, if perhaps we can just go out the side door, that will be useful. We've got it open to try and get a bit of fresh air in, but have shut the back doors because it gets noisy, apparently. So we hope this is the first of the continuing theme of operating out of here, and we hope that will also help groups get going as well, which is another difficult issue for people. How do groups meet? How do they progress things? People having confidence, enough people going to a group meeting to make it viable, and as a committee we've said we'll do whatever we can to support that happening. So if people hire a room but there's not enough members there to pay for it, then someone just needs to let us know, and we will do something about that, certainly in the short term, because we want people to to continue to do or get back to doing what they were always comfortable to do. So if things like that are a problem, do let us know, and we'll try and help. Pleased today that we've got our internal floral designers here with us, Philip and Gillian Evans, who run the tree planting group, and they're just standing in the corner. If you want to see them, if it's safe to do so, then they'd be pleased to have a chat with you about what they're doing. Anything else you want me to say, Philip? No, I got something right. That's good. Heckling. I've missed heckling. Okay, a few things to say that are important. Some of you will be aware that we've got 2 trips coming up in August. One on the 1st, which is to just outside Southwold, Old Farm, with a walk, and there's a cafe, and then going on to Thorrington Open Air Theatre, where there's a play, the Scarlet Pimpernel, which is fairly well known, I think. We've closed that one now, as it's getting closer, but there's another one planned for August the 21st. Details are on the website. They have come out to people via newsletters. It's the same sort of thing, a walk again, a cafe break for a bit of lunch, and then on to Thorrington, where the play is The Hound of the Baskervilles. Again, another fairly well-known performance. So if you're interested in that second one, then please, you can find ways of contacting us on the website, or you can contact me at my email address, which is fairly well known, and we will put you on the list and send you more details. Yeah. And Yes, that's right. You can opt in and out of the three elements: the walk, the cafe, and the theatre. So you don't have to do all three. You just need to tell us which you want to do, and then we'll make sure that we know what's happening. It's not a coach trip because it's too difficult to do those things at the moment, so people generally need to make their way there. But we're trying to organise it as a U3A activity so that, again, people are meeting with other members of the U3A and are getting comfortable with people again. So do let us know what if you'd like to do something about that. Thursford is the other legacy from Irene at the back there. She's been patiently waiting for a grand opening of places like Thursford, which is now open. The difficulty with Thursford has been that they can only really make it viable if they can fully open, which of course they can now. There's a session booked for November, but we need to know if we can get 25 people interested in going by the end of August. Now we've got a third of that number, so that's good. So if you are interested in going, that will be a coach trip to there. I think the price we need to firm up on, but it's something like £60. But please do get in touch with Irene if you're interested in going. I mean, it's a tremendous experience. So please consider that. What else? We've got new groups. Now, some of you will remember Carol Moore, who was our treasurer, and she had to retire because she'd done 150 years, and that's too much to expect people to do, really. But we wondered what she was going to do, but she's actually coming up with new ideas for groups. And one of them, they're very interesting. One of them is her husband is interested in drones and how to fly them and what the rules are about them, etc., etc. So we're going to see if we can get enough interest in a drones group. Right, well, there's the wider membership that might be interested. What else? Oh, she's also said, this might interest you a bit more, about beading and jewellery making. There's another one. She wants to get into beading. She used to do it, but hasn't for a while. She spoke to the a place in, I don't think of the name, but a place in Beccles, but they don't do any classes or anything. So she's wondering if there's enough interest in getting something like that. So we'll publish these things and see if people respond to it. A plea on behalf of a drawing and painting group, number 2, convened by Sue Rhodes. They meet fortnightly on a Thursday at North Cove Village Hall, but they need more numbers to make it viable. So if there's something you used to do and want to get back to, or you've been practicing in the loft while you've been locked away for the last year, and you want to go out and paint with other people, then perhaps there's something for you. What I do have to do as well, don't have to do, it's a pleasure to do, is I was hoping to make a couple of presentations today. One which was to Carol Moore, who, as I said, retired from perhaps not quite 150 years, but certainly 6 years of being the treasurer, and quite a responsibility that's been for all that period of time. But Carol couldn't be here today, so I will get the gift to her in a different way. But I would also like to just ask Irene if she would pop up, because Irene is stepping back from doing events. She's been doing them for 6 years and been doing loads of them each year, but I think the last year she's found other things to do now, I hope. But she will be involved in the odd event coming forward, which is good to hear. But I'd just like to on behalf of all of you and those not here, to thank Irene for what she's done, and to just give her a small gift in appreciation of her efforts. Oh, he's sitting down. Right. Is that okay, Philip? Is that okay? Do you want me to pack up now? Oh, right. Right, I'm just going to now hand over to Moo, who wants to do the rip-roaring and exciting introduction for Robert, so he can live up to it when he does his talk. So I don't know whether I didn't think you would.
Just a couple of things before I pass over to Robert. The Thorrington Theatre, that is an outdoor theatre. It's actually constructed out of a bomb crater. It's beautiful, it's in woodland, so it is sort of fairly safe like that, hopefully. The other thing is, some of you may have seen one of our last meetings on Zoom was Tamsin from the David Parr House in Cambridge. I have been in contact with Tamsin again, and there is a possibility, if we have enough people interested, to actually go over there. Now, it's only very, very small groups that obviously can go around there, but she is willing to put something on where they can do a talk while a small group goes around and then change over. But it will only be about sort of 6 people at a time. But if anybody wants more information about that or is interested, please do let me know, because as I say, I am in contact with Tamsin. When I first came to Suffolk, and I was working at a local school, and very quickly I heard the name of Tilney. And I think if you go around anywhere here in Beccles and sort of talk to people, they know the name Tilney, and they know about the little shop. And I have been in it once, and it was a great embarrassment because I had this sort of gun, and I went in and I said, is there any way you can, give me something, because we want to fire this for a local production that we're putting on? And he looked at me and said, I think you need to go to the toy shop. I will say no more. The expert.
Thank you very much for talking. Can you hear me?
Again. Go on, you have a go. Right, how about that? I think your battery's gone.
Let's pull that up a bit more.
Try putting it there. How about that?
Yeah.
Can we all hear? Can you all hear at the back? Hard luck. You're going to have to listen to me then. Now, that's an example, because normally I never put these things on myself. I have some little person to do it for me. Right, start off frequently asked questions. We'll get them out of the way. Ladies, yes, Fiona Bruce really is that charming. She's absolutely lovely. Gentlemen, yes, her legs really are that long. I have, embarrassingly enough, done a couple of records with her, which is very odd because I spend most of the time talking to her elbow. She's 6 foot and wears heels, for God's sake. I normally stand on a wall. It's so much easier. Second frequently asked questions. Yes, these are my trousers. They are not issued by the BBC. I do have an alarming taste in very colourful trousers. In fact, it's even in the blurb. Right, Roadshow. I started about 9 years ago. Normally, I'm no great believer in health and safety, but this time I was. The BBC had suddenly decided to have a nitfit about weapons coming in, and they're convinced they're all going to be shot, stabbed, killed, blown up, you name it. And they said, we want an armourer. Now, a friend of mine was on the show. He got in touch with me and said, you quite like doing very little and getting paid for it. This is absolutely true. He said, I think I've got a summer laugh for you. So, armourer for the Roadshow. So, okay. Slightly odd, no interviews, no nothing. And they said, no, just come along to a show. And they introduced me to the arms and military expert. He was a nice chap. And I said, hello, I'm Robert Tilney. And he said, you know, you're prepared for the show, you're all ready? I said, yeah, I think so, got everything I need. And he said, you've got your corks? I said, I'm sorry, I've got my what? He said, corks. And the penny dropped. And I said, are you seriously considering what I think you're considering, i.e. putting corks on the end of sharp things? Yes, he said. Yes, I said, and it's this point, our two ideas diverged. I said, look, I've got another system for this. If anybody's got a knife or a sword, as opposed to putting corks on the end of it, we can make them safe by A, putting them back into the scabbard or sheath, and B, as they're all grown-ups, asking them very carefully, if you're in the queue, could you not try and stick it up the bottom of the person in front of you? The BBC were they had no idea what was a good end of a gun, what was the naughty end. How do you prove a gun's safe? Well, it's not loaded. That's pretty simple. Oh, yes, that will work. Swords, we went back to, pushing them back in scabbards. And so, what about a grenade? I said, have we ever had a grenade on the show? Well, no. I said, right, well, what would you do? I said, well, it's quite easy. I said, we look at a grenade. We assess it. You have to use all the right terms, keeps them happy. We assess it. Has it got a pin and a lever in it? Yes, it's safe then. Has it not got a pin and a lever on it? Yeah, well, it's safe because it hasn't gone off then, it's not going to go off now. So I started off working queues, going up and down, checking people, you know, no, that's safe, we're just going to have a quick look at it. Is it loaded? No, you're absolutely fine. I didn't do this on my own. We had stewards helping, and we used to do the quick trading thing. However, some of them took it upon themselves to be, I believe the technical term is jobsworths. We were on an RAF base, and there was some huge kerfuffle going on at the entrance points. Now, bases are quite tricky because it's obviously military. And someone said, can you go to the entrance and sort something out? I said, yes, no problem at all. And there was an RAF regiment sergeant who was saying, no, you can't bring that on the base. No, I'm not having that. And I said, morning, Sergeant, what appears to be the problem? He said, I'm not allowing that on the base, that's a potential weapon. I said, that's a pair of nail scissors, Sergeant. I don't care, he said, they're potentially edged weapons. I said, let's just address this, shall we? I said, this is our contributor who we like to come into the show. That's not a point. I said, actually it is. Let's analyse this situation. I said to the contributor, now I said, what are you bringing into the show? He said, this sabre. I said, now, Sergeant, you can see my dilemma here. Sabre, 3-foot, nail scissors. Don't be so bloody silly. This was sort of the things we had to put up with. You had other things that left you, even me, and I go on a bit, baffled. There's a little family group, mum, dad, daughter. And I said, oh, that's interesting, that's French, Gras bayonet. Oh, I said, gosh, that's good. Said, the girl said, can I ask you a question? I said, of course. I said, how does it work? I said, it's a bayonet, you know, it's... And she said, but how do you do any damage to anybody with it? I thought, well, this is baffling. Because I'm quick, me. So I got hold of it and said, look, if you take this bit off, there's a bayonet blade underneath it. You can stab people with it. She hadn't actually worked out that you had to take it out the scabbard before you use it. I carried on with armouring, and we were over in Belfast. I love going to Northern Ireland. It's absolutely great. It's hilarious. At that stage, I'm still doing the queues, and we had our arms and military expert had gone off to film. Now, he's not with us anymore, but he was notorious for taking forever to film an article. He would just go on and on. And the one thing the Roadshow doesn't like is big queues building up. So there is a queue on the arms and militaria table. And they're going, oh God, there's a queue on that, we need to get that cleared. What are we going to do? Well, he's still filming it. And I said, well, I've done my queue. I said, I'll go over and do it for you. Went over, sat down at the table, said, hello, I'm your substitute expert. What have you got? And it was fine. I really enjoyed it, great fun. Half an hour later, genuine expert comes back. And I said, I've done your queue. I said, because you were taking a bit of time. All sorted. I'll go back. And I saw the producer going, I thought, this doesn't augur well. I may have overstepped the boundaries, and I could see unemployment approaching rapidly. So I said, yes. He said, that was very good. I said, that's because it wasn't very difficult. I said, that's what I'm interested in, it's what I do, it's what I know about. Oh. He said, this is going to be very useful. He said, it means we can double you up as an expert when the other expert's filming. I said, fantastic. I said, do I get paid twice? No, I didn't. So this went on for a bit, and it was very good. And the same producer came over and said, look, we've been watching. He said, you seem to get on well with people. He said, we'd like you to do a record and see how it goes. So I said, fine, I'll have a crack at that. He said, but we want you to, he said, what do you want to film? I said, I don't know, I'll think about it. And he said, but pick something that's got a little bit of a hook to it. So I thought, yeah. I said, right, I know what I want to do. I want to do a trio of First World War medals. He said, well, we see loads of them. I said, well, that's the whole point. We see loads and loads and loads of them, but we never film them because we see lots of them. I said, I'll find something that's got a hook to it. So I think the next show, we're in Bletchley Park. And I said, I've found a set of medals, 3 war medals. Said, and the contributor, same age as when the chap was fighting, First World War. He said, I like that, I like that. So I duly did my record and seemed to work. They actually showed it. And at the end of that series, there was a bit of a thrash, and they said, oh, and we have various funny things. They said, we have a certificate for the best record ever by a first-time expert. Me. I thought, wow. And I looked at the little certificate, and it said, also, for recording the best-looking blonde that's ever been filmed on the roadshow. And that, ladies and gentlemen, was purely coincidental. It had nothing to do with my choice. Except at one stage the cameraman did say, Bob, for God's sake, look at the medals, just for an instant. So I then shifted from armourer to being expert. How it works when you're experting. Now, these past 2 years, well, year, and we've only done 2 this, I've only done 2 this season. Normally we would have up to 5,000 people, possibly more, on a day. And I know I said the BBC don't like queues, but if you like queuing, go to an Antique Roadshow, because my God, there's a lot of it. You start off, you join the first queue. That takes you through to reception. Reception will look at whatever you've got, and they're clever lads, so they'll look at it and go, book, painting, another book, crockery, don't know, miscellaneous. Oh God, you need to go and see Arms and Military with that thing. And so it will come to the table. So you come to a smaller queue. And how we work it, we will look at it. And if you think, I quite fancy filming that, then you will say to the people, would you mind if we filmed it? And oddly enough, no one's ever said no. Strange that. So we then say, right, we then take you over to a waiting area, and in all consciousness you have to tell them, if we do film it, you could be here for 3 or 4 days, and you will have BBC tea, which is awful. And they serve terrible biscuits as well, but the price of fame. Go to the producer, he will go and meet the people and decide if the item's interesting, if they're good, come over and go, there you are, you've got a filming slot. And then they come along and they'll say, time to film. Now, if you're anything like me, I hope you're not because I'm terrible, The best one I ever managed, I was sitting at my table and one of the little girls came over and said, "You're filming?" I said, "Am I?" "Yes." "When?" She said, "Well, now." She said, "I came over an hour ago." I said, yes, of course you did. I said, "Right, well, okay, so what?" I said, you don't by any chance remember what I'm filming, do you?" "No," she said. I thought, this is really handy. I'm going to go over to film and I have no idea what I'm filming. So I went over and the director said, "Right, hello, Robert, how are you?" I said, "Very, very well, very well." He said, "You've got your opening line sorted out?" I said, "Yeah, not really." He said, "Why not?" I said, "Well, I can't remember what I'm filming." He went, "Oh, God." He said, "Top secret D-Day plans." "Yes, I remember, thank you." And that went on to be quite a good record. Going back to what I was saying, medals. I'm not a brilliant medals expert. I'm okay. We have one of my mates is a superb medals man. But you soon realise that you see the same medals, time after time after time. First World War ones are interesting because it's time for me injections. You can get information from them. They've normally got a name, a regiment, a number. They've also got dates and so on. And it never fails to amaze me when people will go, "Got these medals there, dads, granddads." Okay, fine. So we've got Sergeant Armourer, Shropshire Regiment, and Arthur Jones. You go, "How do you know that?" "It's written on the medal." Other people, and that's a great one, will come up with a medal and go, "Oh, what can you tell me about this?" You go, "Okay, it's QSA, Queen South African." "Oh, really? How do you know?" "Well, it's got a picture of Queen Victoria on it, and it's got South Africa on it, so it's quite easy." "Can you date it?" "Yes, it's got the date on it." People just don't seem to look at medals, which is quite handy because it makes you look quite good. Now, medals can range from, I said, First World War ones are fine, we like those. Second World War campaign stars. Now, the only problem with those is they're not named. It's just campaign stars, war medal, defence medal, campaign North Africa, Germany and France. So my dad's, your dad's, they're all the same. One of those things, but you can tell them bits about it. We did have, luckily, it wasn't me, it was my chum, Mark Smith, I said, who is a medal genius. And table, I'm doing something, and I looked and thought, it's an odd group of medals. Oh dear, I thought, I'm glad I'm not doing this, because there was the group of medals. And there was the children, parents, grandmum, and it was grandmum's husband. What can you tell me about these medals? And Mark did an overview quite quickly and said, obviously I'm not going to put a value on these because obviously you're never going to get rid of them. Oh, well, no, we'd like a value. We'd like what the monetary worth, because he was a hero. He was a hero, And I thought, how's he going to get out of this? And he said, well, no, I think it would be insulting to. No, we want to hear what he did. All right, said Mark, I'll tell you what he did. He was a complete fraud. He said, none of these medals are right. He said, even the defence medal, you can buy a real one for £10 and that one's a fake. And they went, but what about this? It's got a piece of where he'd saved everybody by dumping burning ammunition. I said, I think I can help here. I said, that's a piece of paper with military heading on it. I said, if I had a piece of paper with military heading on it, I could write whatever I wanted on that. That's not real either. And we thought, right, now they're going to go mad. And then we're going, and all of a sudden, Granny goes, oh, well, yes, he always was a bleeding liar. Other ones that come up to mind is, and this is one of the things, I always look back and thought, I wish I'd recorded this one. We're down in Battle Abbey, and I think the first two people who turned up, I think, father and son, and they were slightly dodgy. They said, here, we've got a couple of shooters. And I thought, oh, please don't let it be sawn off shotguns. And they said, no, we've got this, two oldish guns. They said, now, the thing is, we know all about these. Of course, our uncle, he'd done all the research. I said, well, fantastic, makes my job a hell of a lot easier. So there it was. I said, okay, fine. So he found them on Romney Marshes. Yeah, okay, fine, I went through. Right, so they date from the time of the Armada. Oh, yeah. I said, right, well, again, we'll just have to have a quick little look at this. I said, now, you've got one down as Spanish Armada, okay. The other one is French. Well, so you're dead right. That one's Spanish, and that one's French. Now we have the little teeny-weeny problem. Said, the Spanish one is earlier, and that might be, I said, that might be 80 years old. I said, and the French one's a bit newer, I said, which makes the Armada link a little tenuous. And he said, yeah, he was a bleeding liar as well. Now, sometimes you sort of look at this, sometimes you get something that really surprises you. Chap came up, said, I got my dad's uniform. Okay, fine. So you're thinking, right, Second World War battle dress, they're worth nothing. But he obviously wanted to show it. He said, yes, fine. I said, well, yeah, we'll have a look. And it was all in a trunk, and you think, oh, he opened it up. He said, there. Yes. I said, well, that's really very, very interesting. I said, because you omitted to tell me that your father was German. I said, and that is a Panzer tank commander's uniform from Panzer Lehr, and it's worth about £4,000. We obviously get a lot of German stuff comes in, and they always want to attribute, and it's not just the Germans, everything, they want to attribute something that's really good to it. And I had a chap came in, and his dad was in. He said, he swapped these for an American. So I said, yep, fine. And we looked at it, and it was some run-of-the-mill Vermac stuff, quite nice, nothing wrong with it at all. And I said, yes, you know, it's worth it. And he said, yeah. I said, super, well, thank you very much. He said, I've not finished. I said, oh, really? He said, yeah, I've got this. And I thought, what else are you going to produce? He said, what do you think about that? So, well, luckily, I'm an expert, and you can't fool me, that's a teaspoon. Yeah, you see, it's Hitler's. Really, I said, and on what provenance do we maintain it's Hitler's? Bearing in mind that he was the leader of the Third Reich, and that is a standard trooper's aluminium teaspoon. Well, my dad said the bloke who I said, look, it's not Hitler's, just off you go. And he went away a bit downhearted. But half an hour or so later, chap comes up, said, got this. So I said, I think you're at the wrong table, sir, because that's an ink blotter. You know, one of the rolling ink blotters? He said, no, it's Hitler's. Oh, God. I said, really, sir? And how do we deduce this is Hitler's? My dad, I thought, well, it's the same dad. No, unlikely. Said, He got that. He was one of the first people in the bunker in Berlin. I said, really, your dad was Russian, was he? No, said the chap, he was English. I said, well, the first people in the bunkers were Russians. So there wasn't anybody English got in the bunker 6 days later. I said, also, that's just an ordinary. I said, I think it was Hitler. It might be a little flashier, you know, possibly a little eagle on it. He went away disappointed. Half an hour after that, one of my mates came over and said, Bob, he said, there's something in the queue you've got to see. I said, really? What is it? He says, bloke's got Hitler's moustache, so I hit him. Other stuff you get, sometimes you can have so much fun. Chap came in, I can't remember it. One of the problems, people say you must have a fantastic time, you see fantastic venues, and they're wonderful, but after a while they all blur into a big stately home somewhere and lots of people. So I can't remember where this one was, but a chap came up and he'd got 4 or 5 guns. Nothing fascinating, but all very nice, and we went through them. And he said, oh, and there's this one. I said, well, okay, why is that one last? He said, well, there's a story. I said, great, tell me the story. He said, I've always wanted, it's a thing, has anybody here watched the television series Sharp about the rifles? Okay. Now, they use a thing called the Baker rifle, and matey's got a Baker rifle. So I said, oh, right. And he said, it was at an auction. He said, I underbid on it. Said he got withdrawn. He said, I found out he'd got it and said, look, I didn't get the Baker. I'd like to buy it privately. And the guy said, well, yeah. And he said, you know it's a copy. He said, yeah, I know that, but I'm never going to be able to afford a Baker rifle. He said, so I'd like to buy that. And they did the deal at £300. And I said, well, that's a fabulous story. I said, now you've got a Baker for your collection. I said, but there is one little tiny thing. He said, oh, what? I said, you know it's a real one, don't you? He said, no. I said, yep, that's a real Baker. I said, how much did you pay for it? He said, 300 quid. I said, well, put another nought on the end of it. It was absolutely fabulous. So the bloke had sold it and he, no idea at all. No idea at all. You can also have an awful lot of fun. Well, I think it's funny. I did one at Cromer Pier, and I'd had, to be absolutely honest, not much of a day. It hadn't been nothing brilliant. And they came over and said, oh, we've got a chap, he's got some toy soldiers his dad picked up in Berlin. I said, no, not interesting. Oh, and he's got some sort of machine gun. I said, he's got some, what is it? Oh, said the director, it's a Vickers. I said, I'm filming it. I don't care, I'm filming the Vickers. Get the Vickers down here. So he got there, and there was this chap with a Vickers heavy machine gun. It's a fabulous thing. And so I just want to check one thing. Checked it, thought, we're in. So I don't know if anybody's seen the record, but it was very, very funny. Talked about the Vickers, explained it. The bloke said he'd bought it for £1,000. I said, well, of course, you know, it's absolutely wonderful. Where does it sit? It sits in my front room. Does your wife like it? No. There's a surprise. I said, right, and it's superb. I said, there is a but coming. I said, this thing has been deactivated to old specifications, and they've changed the law. I said, which very effectively makes your Vickers heavy machine gun in superb condition, which you paid £1,000 for, worth absolutely nothing. You can't even sell it. The BBC got 1.5 million hits on that about, is it really worth nothing? And some friends of mine in Switzerland said, you're on the paper. What? German paper with expert values machine gun at nothing. It's quite fun. When you're filming with somebody, of course, I'm reasonably happy in front of a camera. But somebody said, you know, you've got the face for radio, so that was quite handy. You've always got what your contributor's going to do. Now, are they going to be fine, unhappy, or are they going to do rabbit in the headlight, look at the camera, which we've seen? Categories you don't really want to go near is the ones who won't talk. That's fabulous. Had a chap little Frenchman, very voluble, wonderful bloke. He'd got a Arabic rifle that his great-grandfather had been presented to, and he was telling me all about it. He knew the lot. I said, super. I said, we're going to film it. Great. So we got there, and we were using what we call main unit, which is 3 cameras. So it's all we got there. So the director's going. I said, right. I said, now this is an extraordinarily interesting rifle. I said, it's Arabic. Where's the connection between that? And he stood there. Not a word. Not a dicky. And the director's going. So we started again. Nothing. Director's going. Third time. And for some reason, I was not a particularly scholarly fellow, but for some inexplicable reason, I must have been awake during a geography lesson at school. And something he'd told me beforehand struck a chord. I said, no, I said, you mentioned that this rifle was presented to you in this village, I said, which I believe is in the Atlas Mountains. How I remember that, I don't know. And he looked at me and said, the Atlas Mountains? No, he said, it's in the Low Atlas Mountains. And off he went. Couldn't shut him up afterwards, but that was beside the point. Another fellow, we were doing some stuff, sewing work. Troops would sew things. It was a fantastic thing of the South Staffordshires, and their symbol is a knot. And it was a lovely piece of work, and we were filming away. And I said to the bloke, so I said, that's obviously South Staffordshires. I said, and he said, yep. He said, oh, my dad was in the South, like that, and he couldn't say South Staffordshires. We filmed it 6 times, and it's becoming increasingly. And I said, look, I said, it doesn't matter. He said, but it's going out live. I said, it damn well isn't. I said, we've got 8 months to get this right. Because what you want, when you're filming, ideally, the ideal record is you've got contributors who know absolutely nothing about what they brought in. They're unusual, interesting, you know they're going to film well. And it's worth £1 million. Never happened to me, but we have had a £1 million item on the show, a Fabergé flower. But that belonged to the army, so I don't know whether that counts. Now, people bring stuff in, and they said they don't know about it, or they think they might know about it. Now, Scotland. Is anybody Scottish in the audience? Right, I can't be rude then unless you'll forgive me. I like going to Scotland, but one of my great delights is wearing tartan trews. And I think the first time I ever managed, we were going to Edinburgh, which, as you know, is very smart. And so I'm there with my tartan trews on, and a very, very grand Edinburgh lady, and said, well, she said, at least somebody is wearing the tartan. I said, well, in my best English accent, yes, I think, well, somebody has to. She said, I trust you're entitled to that tartan. I said, madam, I can assure you I bought it on eBay. So it's McEbay tartan, which I thought was jolly funny, and dear heavens, she didn't. However, Scotland, whatever you see in Scotland is almost invariably owned by William Wallace or Bonnie Prince Charlie. Don't know why. We did one, and a woman came up with this superb little blunderbuss. It was a magnificent thing. I went into raptures about it. It's absolutely gorgeous. It's superb. Oh, yes, she said, and of course it was Culloden. I said, no, it wasn't, unless somebody had a time machine, because that's 200 years after Culloden. Oh. And the other one you get, people are convinced. I had a chap came in with a very nice sword, very pleasant. Looked at it, said, that's a very nice sword. He said, well, he said, it's Grandad's. Carried that in the First World War. I said, that's jolly interesting. He said, French, was he? No. I said, well, it's a French sword. Napoleonic, so it's either you got something wrong or it's not your dad's. And the other one, there's the great, I was not aware of this, but there's the great curse of the roadshow. I can't go into too many details because there's a chap who's convinced he has Napoleon's sword. He is absolutely 100% convinced it's Napoleon's sword. It isn't, but you won't take no for an answer. I hadn't been going particularly long, and we were in Scotland, and my chum went, yes, tea, and disappeared. And I thought, well, I know he's an oddity, but even for him, that's strange behaviour. This chap came in, glass box, folder full of stuff. And when they've got a folder full of stuff, you start to worry, because you think, I said, right, so what's all this about? It's Napoleon's. I looked at it, I said, I don't think so. It's like none of the recorded Napoleon swords that I've ever seen. Oh, yes, and he wouldn't say no. He went on and on and on. Eventually he went off, not best pleased, because I refused to admit it was Napoleon's sword. And off he went. My mate came back. I said, you knew him, didn't you? Yes, he said, Napoleon's sword. He said, you're the fifth bloke who's had that thing. And he said, we all know it's not Napoleon's sword, but we cannot convince this chap. And 2 years later, I did it to someone as well. So, I'm going to have some tea. You can sort him out. But yes, Napoleon's sword, it is a bit of a shame. Some of the bits about filming are very odd, like having to go and get made up. I know your ladies are very good at it, but by God, it's an odd habit, isn't it? Putting powder on. At least we don't do lipstick. Well, that blocks a sensation. I can't get used to. At least, unlike some of my friends who are bald, they sort of just put a pot of powder on their heads and go, and that should stop the shine. The girls on makeup, they actually clubbed together and bought some moustache wax for me. Save me bringing my own. The only thing with makeup, again, funnily enough, that was a Scottish one. Myself and the chap who'd given me Napoleon's sword, we'd finished filming and we said, right, we'll walk back to the hotel, strangely enough, via the pub. So I'm in Tartan Trews, walking along in Glasgow, and it's a fairly dodgy area. And my chum, I say chum, said, Bob, said, yep, said, you know you've still got makeup on, don't you? Oh, I said, no, I'd forgotten that. He said, right, you're on your own, mate, and left me. Friends, don't you just love them? Northern Ireland, I've said before, it's great. Again, television reference. Anybody watch Father Ted? Yeah. Okay. Some of the Northern Ireland ones, it's like being on the set of Father Ted. Sitting in Northern Ireland, this is a while ago, and a chap came into me and said, right, he said, what do you think about that then? I said, it's a whistle. Yes, what does it do? Whistles? No, but what does it do? Seriously. I said, seriously, whistles? I said, it's the Acme Metropolitan Police whistle. How do you know that then? It's got it written on it. And this went on for a while, and my mate, different mate, is killing himself laughing. He thinks it's very, very funny. About 10 minutes later, a chap comes up and said, what's that then? And it was a fork. Thermact issue fork. And my chum said, oh, he said, that's a spoon. I said, it bloody well isn't. Oh, no, it isn't. And he completely misidentified, just brain fade. Chap wasn't best impressed. So, we were sort of at evens on this. And a chap comes up and says, right. I said, can't fool me, that's a painting. I know about this sort of thing. My friend here, expert. He's going, I'm not an expert on painting. I said, no, you'll be fine. He said, right, well, it's sort of a meadow, and I think those things might be cows, or possibly horses, and that's a tree, and he sort of staggered on while I'm wetting myself laughing. And the chap said, oh, right, didn't look very impressed, went off. I said, you made a great job of that. He said, you swine, he dropped me into that. He said, where's he going? I said, this should be even funnier. I said, he's just taken it to the queue for books. Now, this, again, Northern Ireland. We were filming and it was freezing cold. And I'd been fueling myself on cups of tea, as one does, which duly has a consequence. And I thought, so I said, right, said to the chap, so I'm just going to nip off. Disgusting line of Portaloos, but there was coming the other way with 4 charming Irish ladies. And I said, oh God, will you look at himself? I thought, there's nobody behind me. Oh God, it's me. And they chatted away and chatted away and chatted away. And I said, ladies, I said, you're going to have to excuse me, I said, because unless I visit one of those Portaloos quite soon, you're going to have the edifying spectacle of an Antiques Roadshow expert with very wet trousers. Went in, came out and was still waiting. Never been that popular in my life. Sometimes the shows go very, very well. Sometimes they don't. We did one in the Roundhouse at Derby, and it's a roundhouse where they turn engines round. Nobody turned up. We were all sitting at our tables, investigating what's in your ear. And I went on and somebody said, it's the right day, is it? Yes. And somebody said, I said, what? I said, I'm going to have a look outside, see if I can find a queue. Went out, nobody about. We had, during the entire day, 400 people. To this day, we don't know what happened, but that was just one. When we do know what happened, we did a show at Liverpool Cathedral. And does anybody know Liverpool? It's got 2 cathedrals. Everybody went to the wrong one. We actually had to put a team of people over to the Catholic Cathedral and get them back. Oh, sorry, we were at the Catholic one, Paddy's Wig one, to that one. So that was quite fun. They were shuffling backwards and forwards. Going on about the grenade thing. Again, Northern Ireland. Woman came in and said, I've got this. And it was a tin, about that sort of diameter. She said, can I get the top off? I said, oh, well, should be able to. I said, no, that's really, I said, I think I can see what's happening. You've got the threads across. So I can't shift it. Let's go over to security. And security guys, they're all huge. I said to mate, Tony, get the top off, will you, mate? No, we all had a go, I said, by the way, I said, what's actually in it? He said, oh, a grenade. Off you go, madam. Don't put us any more grenades. Now, I think I've probably bored you all enough anyhow, but one of the things that is very flattering is, having been on the roadshow, people recognise you. So you think, I'm a bit famous. However, sometimes you can look a complete... My finest one is going into a supermarket to buy some stuff. And the girl on the desk was absolutely charming, absolutely stunning. And she said, oh, can I ask you a question? I said, of course you can. She said, are you the chap who's on the roadshow? I said, well, as it happens, I am. She said, oh, my gran thinks you're lovely. So, yeah, it's not that flattering. And the only other one on that is somebody actually came in the shop. I'm not making this up, it's honest to God. And said, oh, he said, you know that Antiques Roadshow show? I said, yeah. He He said, I watched that last night. Yeah? He said, do you know? He said, there's a bloke on that looks exactly like you. On that note, I will finish. Now, if anybody's got any questions they would like to ask me, I will do what I normally do on the show, which is make it up as I go along.
Well, I've got one.
Go on.
Before you actually film, surely you must have time to ascertain what the item is in detail, rather than just put it in front of you and then your experience totally comes out. Is that incorrect? Or?
No, you've normally got between filming and filming, you've normally got sort of an hour, perhaps even 2 hours, but of course you're on the table the whole time.
Yeah.
So you're doing it. Rule of thumb, don't record something you don't know anything about, you look a complete idiot. And don't do what I do, which is completely forget what you're going to record.
Yeah, my question was just about research. How much research went on beforehand?
Again, some people even got the dreaded computer thing you can go and play with, as I can't make computers work anyhow. A couple of decent reference books are quite useful. Brings to mind a little story. A charming woman came in with a steer, and I said, oh, that's really interesting, so I know what that is, which is handy. And she didn't really, I said, dung. She said, what? I said, dung. D-U-N-G, it's a Tibetan name for spear, it's a Tibetan spear. She was having none of it. No, it isn't. Yeah, it is. I've never been to Tibet. Yes, but somebody else probably has. So they actually got a reference book and said, look, dung, Tibetan spear. So, yeah, a few reference books, quite useful.
Do you groom your moustache yourself, or ever?
In actual fact, it's my great-grandfather who left
Is the whole show recorded in one day, or is it over more than 1 day?
The pre-COVID, 1 day, starts at about 8:30. If it's a bit cute, it can go on till 8 in the evening. Now, we record it over 2 days.
I'm sure you'll agree with me that after 17 months, this has been an absolute tonic. It's just what we needed. Robert, thank you so much. I know you haven't had to walk far back.
No, well.
It's been absolutely great.
Good. I'm glad you all enjoyed it.
No, thank you very much.
Okay, just a quick word from me before you all rush off. Thank you ever so much, for being here today. I'd like to say a special thank you to the committee members, the volunteers, the refreshment group for coming out and trying to make the meeting as safe and as we could. So I hope you all felt safe, and that's the important thing. Massive thank you, as Lewis said, to Robert. It's great to have somebody here in person who has, even though they don't go to their pyjamas in the morning. So it's good to see some colour, so thank you Robert again. And just finally, two final things. Don't forget to look at the website for Thursford and for the trip out on August the 21st. And our next meeting here, God willing, is the 18th of August, when Ian McLachlan will be talking about GI bribes. So we look forward to that, and thanks again for coming along. And if you can, if you're comfortable enough, from the front. Sounds like I'm on an airplane now. They are. But if you could go to the side door, that's the conversation. Thank you again.
Good.